I set up the guy who cut me off in double turn lane to get speeding ticket. I'm in the outer left turn lane, other car is in the inner left turn lane. We are both first in line. The light turns green, we both begin to go. The guy on my left punched it and then merged into my lane mid-turn. Okay, maybe he needed to turn into the shopping center on the right, so I merge into the lane he was supposed to be in and accelerated to the speed limit 25. He doesn't turn into the first driveway or the second but matches my speed. Okay. The street as soon as the shopping center ends merges into one lane and at the same time has school zone lights flashing, which means you must drive 15 miles per hour through the school zone. This is my neighborhood, and when I left my apartment earlier there was a cop sitting in the semicircle driveway of the skilled nursing facility behind their big sign. When this happened in the turn lane, I hope the motorcycle coupe was still there. I know that as soon as you cross those flashing lights you better be going 15 miles per hour. I made the guy think that I was trying to pass him, so he sped up and then I slammed on my brakes and did the 15 mile per hour. He actually put up his pointy finger inside the car and waved it like you do when you tell someone no. He never slowed down and drove straight past the cop, who immediately pulled him over. I turned right to go to my apartment and waved as I did. Don't mess with bilingual tourists, or else. This happened in my college days. Me and my siblings were teenagers, so me and my family went to the US for a vacation on a summer. We specifically wanted to go to Disney California Adventure Park since we are old enough for the rides there. Since it was summer, the theme park is jam-packed. I was with my two siblings and my aunt, as we were waiting in line on a ride. Forgot what ride. Since we haven't seen our aunt for a long time because she and our uncle live in the US and we last saw them many years ago, we were telling her stories about home. We were also laughing. In short, having fun catching up. And also we are speaking our native language since we were just talking to each other, and my aunt misses to speak our native language since she was living in the US for decades. As we were having fun on our catching up, I noticed a group of teenagers behind us, well, white American teenagers, laughing, and it's obvious that they were laughing at us and imitating our language, and they were even pointing at us. I can't remember what they're saying because they're whispering to each other then laugh. I told my aunt and my sibling what they are doing and she just told me to just ignore them, but they continued to laugh at us. So my aunt told us that we continue to talk in our native language, loud enough for them to hear, and look at them, then laugh profusely, then back to talking each other, then look at them giggling. They stopped. Lesson learned. We can understand you, but you can't understand us, so don't make fun of us, or else you'll never know if we are talking shit about you already. I don't know if that was petty enough, but the looks on their faces made our entire California adventure trip satisfying. Edit. Whoa, thanks for the awards. This is my first time posting. I just also want to clear that what we were saying when we were making fun of them were not even insults. We were just saying you're right. Really, that was too funny. Something like that. In our native language, then look at them, then laugh. Also, we are from the Philippines, so we knew Tagalog isn't that common in the US, at least that time. Won't change the lure rule. Sweet Wiffy, tomfoolery shall commence. This is a short, and probably tasteless, tale of a husband who just had enough. I'm not normally vindictive, and after 20 years of marriage and bringing up 3 gorgeous and independent kids, I had learned when to choose my battles. My poor wife, God bless her darling heart, has had to deal with sharing an ensuite bathroom with her ape of a husband. I'm 6 tall and 120 kilos of formerly gorgeous, so I've been often reminded by my ring bearer, muscle and sinew. Okay, I'm a fat bugger nowadays, but I am going to change this year. Hopefully. Whilst we share the bathroom, the vanity, the toilet and the shower, the one thing my wife doesn't like to share is the low role changing responsibility. That, apparently, is all down to me. This was not something we agreed to previously, not something discussed like adults over a nice cup of tea. This has been solely decided upon by her. This lovely nurturer and predominant raiser of our children has honed the art of leaving one square to dab at her lady parts down to a fine art. I will stumble into our bathroom at 5 a.m. of a morning, thus beginning my morning ablutions before heading off to work, and, lo and behold, there is one square on the roll. My body is already upset about stirring from that wonderfully comfortable bed, and is now reaching evacuation status as is its wont at that time. I now need to waste precious time bending over, please don't fart, to retrieve a fresh lure roll from inside the vanity. I try to keep a 3-roll minimum in there, ready to assist with the cleanup on aisle 5 after I've dropped the kids off at the pool. It's not fun, and after the umpteenth time of this happening, something just clicked in my head this morning. I'd had enough. Why is it always me? Why can't she do it? When did she become the boss and I her lackey? Before anyone says anything, I know who's the boss in our house, and it's me. When she's not home. Ahem. This morning I decided enough was enough. I left her one square where it was. I got a new loo rollout, cleaned my unmentionable parts down under when I was finished, got up off the throne, washed my hands and promptly placed the new roll, and the 2 remaining loo rolls from under the sink, on top of the wall cabinet. My darling wife is 5 feet 2 inches and cannot reach anywhere near the top of the wall unit. She also wakes up a lot later than I do. In fact, I'm normally just pulling into the office when she heads to the bathroom of the morning. This morning I received a lovely text just as I sat at my desk. I could tell she had put much thought into her response. I looked down and saw, "You wanker. Looks like I'll be making dinner tonight. Totally worth it." Edit 1. Yes, we're British but living in Australia for last 18 years. This also adds a certain amount of Russian roulette to my leaving the rolls on top of the wall unit. Snakes and spiders are commonplace out here in the country. Edit 2. The loo rolls are kept away, and not handy next to the loo, purely for the aesthetic. This is not my doing, and one of the former battles I was not destined to win. Edit 3. Blimey. Thanks for all the awards, and I've had a good laugh reading through the comments. Seems I'm not alone out there. Kid got me in trouble, so I ratted him out. So back in early elementary school I was friends with the troublemaker kid, the one who literally went out of his way to break every rule. This kid framed me for something he did, and I never let that go. Now one thing kids would do is take pencils and put the eraser end in the electric sharpener, and the teachers, obviously, didn't want that to happen, so it was against the rules. This kid, of course, did it in spite of the rules. So I got my master plan. I gave him a pencil with dinosaur designs on it and asked him to sharpen the wrong end. Of course, given the prospect of breaking the rule, he took the opportunity with sparkling ice. So while the teacher wasn't looking, he started to sharpen off the eraser. Then I started to cry. I started bawling my eyes out, and the teacher turned around and saw the kid sharpening the wrong end of a pencil and me wailing like I was stabbed in the side. I told her kid stole my favorite dinosaur pencil and ruined it. I didn't give a shit about the pencil. It was just one I found in a drawer at my house. The teacher chewed him out and he had to call his parents. Kid never messed with me again. Went too fast for customer, so I slowed down just for her. So this actually happened last night. I have recently had a shitstorm of a week and I was on edge, and I get into work. I work at a certain generic Mexican restaurant where you walk down lines and create your burrito or bowl as you go. I'm online, which means that I'm the person you go to and I make your food for you and then ring you up unless someone takes register. We're broken up into 2 areas. We have the whales, which are where we have rice and beans, meat, quesos, and soup with some grilled veggies. Then we have sauces, which has all kinds of hot sauces you can put on, corn salsa, pico, lettuce, the gist basically. Now, when you get this job it becomes mind-numbingly easy after about a month and you get it all figured out, and I can get someone through the line within 5 minutes. The cashier taking the longest part. It's not hard to get through quickly and to make sure I have the customer's order right if they actually pay attention. So, obviously, COVID. We aren't allowed to serve anyone who doesn't have a mask on. So this woman comes in on the phone, which F customers who do this by the way, and she's got her mask pulled below her chin. I ask her to put it on. She rolls her eyes and does so. I also want to preface that I am hard of hearing. If you speak up and pronounce your words, I'm good. So she starts with mumbling her order to me and then loudly talking to her husband on the phone. I ask her to speak up. She wants 2 nacho bowls. All right. I put in the cheese. Get your rice and beans done. Then we move to the meat. Like I said, I've had a real shit week at this point, and my ability to cover up this and be a polite sugary sweet server is fading quickly. And she yells into the phone, "Oh, you want ground beef?" and turns to me and says, "Put on some ground beef and then steak on that one." I guess I do so, and get them all the way to the next area. I'm actually going slow today because of her behavior, and at this point I probably would have had at least 2 people out and could have started cleaning line. I'm naturally fast and I'm trying to get her out quickly cause it's 8:30 p.m. and I want to clean. She tries to talk into her phone and just looks at me and says, "God, I can't breathe in this," and takes off her mask. Again. I tell her she has to wear them. I'm not allowed to serve her without one. She again rolls her eyes as hard as she can and puts it on and grumbles to her husband about stupid regulations. So, she's taking forever. This is going the pace of a snail and she won't even talk to me or speak up except to yell into her phone. And I'm asking her what sauces she wants when she interrupts me to yell into her phone, "Oh, you don't want ground beef? Well, she already put it on. This girl is going to fast." And she says it in the most sarcastic voice I've ever had a customer use. So I effing snapped. I immediately dropped the spoon and decided I was having trouble with her bowl. It was stuck to the counter. Oh boo. She asked for pico. I kept dropping the ladle and would dig through the bin to find the most perfect scoop. She wanted lettuce? Well, I might as well arrange it leaf by leaf on each of her bowls. Onions? Let's just be safe and not spill anything. I tell my coworker that I'll ring her up and I slowly pick out the most perfect bowl lid. Make sure it's securely on her nacho bowls, cause we only want perfection for her, and then rang her up for every single thing she has on her bowls. Usually, if customers are nice, we only charge by meat, but she was charged for every single thing on her bowls. Then she randomly yells to me while I'm slowly typing in everything that she wants some sides of sour creams. I tell my coworker I've got it, just clean up, and I make her the most perfect sides of sour cream I possibly could and took my time with it. Then she asked for guac, so I made sure, as to not make a mess, to grab half scoops at a time. Finally, she's paid for close to $25 worth of food because she kept asking for sides. I managed to slowly get her receipt and then bagged all of her items, making sure I had only the best napkins and forks for her, of course. Then smiled at her and said, "Have a nice night." She scowled and left. You'd think after me dragging my feet and grinning like a maniac from behind my mask she'd be sick of our shit and just leave. But nope. See, we had run out of all of our fried products that night, meaning no tortilla bowls, no tortilla strips, and most importantly, no chips. My manager said don't give chips out to anyone in person. We need them for our online orders, and I had told this lady that I can't give her chips when we started her order, but she seemed to have not noticed. So she angrily calls my manager and demands we bring her chips and that we forgot half her order. My manager had seen this whole thing and had been laughing the whole time, but now he's sick of dealing with her. Finally this woman comes back and she walks in, shocker, without a mask, and she yells at us from the door to bring her the chips. My manager just tells her to leave and she can grab them if she has a mask on. She yells at us, asking if we really are gonna make her go all the way back to her car. He just says yup. She is livid at this point, and she stomps back to her car, obviously yelling obscenities, and comes back about 2 minutes later. So when she came back in and was standing at the counter yelling, for her chips, I decided to make her chips. I made sure her chips were perfect for her and scooped her chips in, and then packaged them, just so, before I walked it to her around the cash register, and handed it to her and smiled, telling her I hope she enjoyed our service and have a wonderful night. TLDR, don't be a bitch to the people who make your food and have free time with no other customers. The story of how I got out of a bad car loan. This is the story of how I bought my car a little over a year ago. I had recently returned from working overseas and had been shopping around for about a month. I found myself at yet another used car dealership, and on a whim, I test drove a vehicle that cost more than I was hoping to spend. Being young and dumb, I also light slipped that I was looking to finance. I didn't really need to get a car loan. I just didn't have any credit at the time and was hoping to build some. This becomes important later. Well, wouldn't you know it, I was in luck. They could work out the details of the loan for me right there at the dealership, and they would even include an extended warranty bundled in. I know, I'm an idiot. Being inexperienced as I was, not to mention sleep deprived, I was working nights at the time. I skipped along and signed on the dotted line. I just wanted to get out of there and get home to bed. After a good day's rest, I picked through the paperwork more carefully. The more I read, the more embarrassed I felt at what a sucker I was. Severe interest rates, bogus fees, overpriced warranty and gap insurance nonsense. I had fallen for all of it hook, line, and sinker. The next day I stormed back into the dealership brimming with youthful bluster born of my embarrassment. Now I'm not a big guy, but I can have a big mouth if the situation calls for it. I also had a full mohawk at the time, which probably added to the effect. I went straight to the manager and called him out on his shady business practices and general lack of moral fiber. Naturally, he was very offended that I would dare make such accusations. He was, of course, a most honest businessman who had been clear and straightforward all along. I had the paperwork from the beginning and chose to sign of my own accord. This last part, at least, was true. Still, he didn't like it when I pointed out that me being stupid enough to fall into his trap didn't negate the fact that he was offering a predatory loan in the first place. I wasn't arguing the terms of the loan. I was coming straight for his personal character. Manager man was starting to get emotionally worked up too now. He was gonna prove this whiny louse wrong. Not only was he not crooked, he was so magnanimous that he would even let me out of the loan. All I had to do was write him a check then and there for the full value of the car. Now here comes the revenge. I said okay. His eyes got big. It was clear he wasn't expecting this answer. Wasn't expecting some punk kid who had already signed up for extortionary financing to be able to pony up that kind of cash on demand. But thank God, the one not stupid thing I had done was make sure I stuck to getting a car I could pay for in full just in case. It was too late for him now, though. I had called his bluff. Once the words left his lips, he couldn't renege without fully admitting I was right about his being deceitful. Without another word to me, manager man called somebody over to take me elsewhere and work out the details. Somehow, despite having already signed my soul away, I managed to further talk my way into getting a bunch of other nonsense fees waived. They definitely didn't have to do this, which leads me to believe that A. They were sick of the yelling Mohawk guy and were just ready to be rid of me. B. There was even shadier stuff than predatory lending going on, and they knew I would call them out and could put my money where my mouth was. Or, in a very distant third place, C. This other guy I was talking to recognized the fees were BS and was trying to do right by me. I came in a little later that day to drop off the cashier's check. Manager man was still fuming when I put the check on his desk and asked if everything was in order, perhaps a little too gleefully. He wouldn't even look at me, just pursed his lips, nodded and stared blankly at his monitor. I picked up the title from the front desk lady, whom I had always been very polite to. She seemed to be sharing the schadenfreude of my getting one over on her boss and shot me a knowing smile. I know I was naive and careless getting into such a quagmire and that I am lucky things went the way they did. But when I get behind the wheel of my very own car, I still find her smirk creeping across my face. Petty poopy revenge. Love dogs but hate the owners when they think it's okay to just walk away. Back in the mid-60s, one of our neighbors walked her 2-year-old pug down the street and it dumped right in front of another neighbor's house. We learned the other neighbor would scoop it up and place it in his wheelbarrow. This went on for several months until he had a decent mound of it and then he wheeled it down to their front door and unloaded it. We were on speaking terms with the pug owner and she told us how disgusting his behavior was. Yes, right, edit, fixed spelling of wheelbarrow, the ding-dong dickheads. Some background. We live in a wealthy stuck-up neighborhood filled with entitled teens. Not all but some. So I showed a video on a previous post about this group of teenagers who started ding-dong ditching us for months even though we didn't know them and didn't do anything to them before they started. We sold our condo unit to move to North Carolina. They threw a smoke bomb on our porch in the video, which ended up staining the patio. Unfortunately, tomorrow we have the buyer of our house coming to do a walkthrough and we don't know if we can clean the stains. The revenge. We bought an outdoor alarm and a Ring doorbell just to catch them. We even made a sign plastered with pictures of them in masks with phrases like dickhead, PSSY, still a virgin, scared, and a-hole. It didn't stop them. So a few months ago, before they pulled the whole "it's a boy" prank, my dad would sit on the porch and wait for them. One day he saw them and chased them up a nearby hill. He found where they were coming from, so my dad came home and grabbed some fishing line, a paintbrush, and a bucket of brake fluid. For those who don't know, brake fluid stinks like heck. My dad set up a tripwire between 2 trees and painted the fence they were hopping over in brake fluid. The next night they ding-dong ditched us again. In the morning my dad went up the trail and found the tripwire snapped, and tons of hand and feet prints all over the fence. Those DCKS got all their clothes covered in the stuff, and I imagine that they did not have a fun time washing them. Since we're moving we could care less about them anymore and we're excited to start our new lives on the east. The police are looking for them because of the porch which counted as vandalism. A neighbor up the road said that they threw a dead rat at his window, so he also told the cops. We also plan to buy security cameras for the new house. Sorry this wasn't the best, but it feels good knowing they probably gagged at the smell and had to wash it off lol. And thinks COVID is hoax. Skips my wedding. My wedding was a few months ago, but happened while restrictions were lifted. It was legal to have an outdoor gathering of 50 people, and we made sure to distance chairs and wear masks. Thankfully, nobody got sick. I invited my aunt and uncle, but could not invite my 12 cousins. My uncle calls me 2 days before the wedding, insisting that if I didn't add 12 chairs, my aunt wouldn't come. I explained that it was illegal and impossible, and to please understand. They did not, explaining that COVID is a hoax, and decided to skip my wedding in indignation. Probably for the best. Cute petty revenge. My aunt had given me measuring spoons, so when I sent my thank you note, I wrote the following. Thanks for the spoons. We're sorry you couldn't make it to our wedding, but we completely understand wanting to avoid gatherings during this time. She hasn't talked to me since. I asked you nicely to stop bringing them into the office. A while back, I had a horrible supervisor. This woman was a loud bully and was always calling out sick. They rearranged offices in our department and I had to share a room with her. She would bring in bouquets of gardenia flowers from her yard when they were in bloom. Gardenia is a smell that will give me a headache, near migraine level. Very quickly, she would bring in the flowers and then call out sick within a day or two, so she wasn't there to enjoy them. The smell gets stronger over time. I asked her nicely to please stop bringing them in, but as I said earlier, she was a bully and wouldn't listen. Everyone else was scared of her, so going to HR wasn't an option as they wouldn't go near her. Did you know that if you pinch a gardenia bloom that it will bruise, turn brown and start to die? Well, she didn't. When she brought them in, I'd go over and pinch the blooms every time she was out of the room. She couldn't understand why the blooms at the office were dying so quickly and the ones at home were fine. After a few times, she got so frustrated with them not lasting that she stopped bringing them in. To this day, she still hasn't figured it out. Old guy complains about his high sodium then calls me fat. So for context, I work in the deli at a popular supermarket. So of course we regularly cook fried and baked chicken as well as rotisseries. I was in the middle of breading some fried chicken when an older guy asked if we were going to have any more rotisseries coming out. I informed him I just put some in the oven and they'd be ready in about 45 minutes. Then he goes into a long rant about his doctor threatening to keep him in the hospital for a week if he didn't get his sodium down. He makes me stand there and listen to him explain everything his doctors have told him about his poor diet and shows me all the healthy foods in his shopping cart. A coworker told me after the fact he had a heart attack not too long ago. Mind you, I'm standing there wearing a disposable apron with my hands held up because they're covered in wet breading the entire time he's speaking. He talked so long that the wet breading on my gloves dried by the time I managed to get away from him. During our one-sided discussion, I told him I would be happy to set one of the rotisseries in the oven aside for him and hold it so he could have a fresh one when they're done. While he's ranting about his doctor's ridiculous diet restrictions, he says, "Heck, your stomach is bigger than mine." After I offered to hold one of our fresh rotisseries just for him, I could stand to lose about 20 pounds or so. I'm 6 feet and 195 lbs, but this guy's gut is literally hanging over his belt. So what did I do? I made sure to save one of the fresh chickens for him, but I made sure he got the smallest one in the oven. I mean, a smaller rotisserie means less sodium, right? Thank you for watching. Daily uploads.